Hi, folks. How are you doing today? Good. So, today I'm gonna continue to read the book Satantango by this year's Nobel laureate László Krasznahorkai. Before we start reading, why don't we review some words we encountered last week? All right. So here, list of vocabulary words we saw last time, and I know I'm not still perfect, but yeah, let's review these words together. All right. The first saline means water containing dissolved salt. Clangor is a loud repeating clanging sound. And I believe this word comes from some actual sound, and also here I have a page of the vocabulary.com, and clangor is one of these words that means exactly what it sounds like. So you can feel free to describe the noise your brother makes when he's banging on his drums in the basement as a clangor. So the definition is a loud, resonant, repeating noise. Next, hobble is related to horses, and one of the short straps tied between the legs of unfenced horses, allowing them to wander short distances but preventing them from running off. And it seems there are several figurative meanings, including an unsteady of band step or a difficult situation or an odd job. This also has a form of verb, and to feather by tying the legs, or to walk lame or unevenly. Also to perplex or to embarrass. Next, flay. Let me check if I can play the
Flay.
here. Flay, yeah. I hope it works on the stream. Flay, a flight or a scare. Yeah, so I think I know this Japanese translation is not great because I just use the free API from DeepL. So yeah, so DeepL is not actually a dictionary. So there should be better English-Japanese dictionaries, but most of them are not free. So so far I decided not to use them. And also flay is a verb meaning to cause to fly or to flight. In a figurative sense, to scare or to terrify. Dilapidate. I'm sure I've seen this word before when I was studying in the United States, but yeah, my memory is not great. So, to fall into ruin or disuse. To squander or waste. Derelict means property abandoned by its former owner, especially a ship abandoned at sea. And also a homeless or jobless person, abandoned. Derelict. Perspiring. To emit through the skin's pores. To be evacuated or excreted or to exude through the pores of the skin. Perspiring. Yeah, let me check. Perspiring. Oh yeah, this. Yeah, I've heard the word perspiration. Perspiration. Yeah. So the verb form should be perspire. Yes, perspiring. Yeah. The perspire is to sweat. Perspire. Yeah. To excrete perspiration through the pores in your skin. All right. Now I'm clear. Next, buyers. A barn, especially one used for keeping cattle in. Buyers. Rickety. Of an object not strong or sturdy, as good of poor construction or unkept. Not safe or secure. It can be used with a person, meaning feeble in the joints or tottering. So let's see some examples. He hesitated about climbing such a small, rickety ladder. The rickety old man had hardly managed to climb the stairs. So yeah, I can feel the sense of unsteadiness. All right, next, mildew, a growth of minute powdery, a growth of minute powdery or rubby fungi. While whitish or different colors found on various diseased or decaying substances. Mildew. Yeah, I wonder what the origin of this word is. So let's see, mildew. Mildew. Right. Yeah, mildew is a kind of fungus that grows in damp environments. And what's the origin of this word? Yeah, I don't. Just more. No. Word family. not super helpful. All right. There might be more information when I log in, but let's keep it as is. Next, fidget. Nervous wriggling or twitching motion. A person who fidgets, especially habitually, fidgeter, fidget. A toy intended to be fidgeted with. Stutter. A speech disorder characterized by stuttering. To speak with a spasmodic repetition of vocal sounds. Like this. Nitrous oxide. Of course, this is related to chemistry, but there are several different meanings, and especially if you are talking about cars, nitrous can mean the system in some racing vehicle which pumps nitrous oxide into the engine to improve performance. I'm not a car person, but yeah, there is a group of people who know more about cars, and so this might make sense to them. And next, veritable is an adjective meaning true or genuine. Bow is a firm branch of a tree. So I wonder what the difference between bow and branch. A bow is a large branch from a tree. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. A lullaby about a baby carrying the ground from a broken branch. Yeah, so bow is a large branch, I think. Next. Pout. Pout is the right trans. Yeah, pout is correct, I think.
Pout.
Pout, okay. So when something doesn't go your way and you get annoyed about it, that's a pout. And when you let the word know about it by thrusting out your lower lip, you're pouting. Elaborate. And yeah, so it's a facial expression, and to push out one's lips. Pout. And rather, it's nonsensical or foolish talk, or talk rapidly that make much sense. Yeah, to say in a foolish or overly verbal way. Yeah, again, this Japanese translation is not great. Wad. Uh, to crumple or crush into a compact, amorphous shape or ball. Yeah, let's look at more details. A wad is a bundle or lump or something like the wads of chewing gum. You'll find it. You look under your chair at school. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So basically, it means a small mass of soft material, uh, like a massive chewing gum. And also followed by of a large number of amount or extent, a wad of money. In this case, it means a large amount. Interesting. All right. And phosphorus. No, phosphorescent is, I believe this is an adjective. Yeah, related to light. And phosphorus. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain this adjective. Or oh no, this is not a noun. Multivalent non-metallic element of nitrogen family that occurs commonly in inorganic phosphate rocks and has organic phosphates in all living cells. It's highly reactive and occurs in several allotropic forms. Phos- Phosphorescent. Phosphorescence. Phosphorescent. Yeah. Yeah, this is an adjective. Anything phosphorescent emits light, but not much heat. Phosphorescent things glow in the dark, emitting light without appreciable heat, as by slow oxidation of phosphorus. Good. And gesticulate. Gesticulate. To make gestures or motions as in speaking. Okay. And grimace. A controlled facial expression often expressing contempt or pain. Grimace. Brusque. Rudely abrupt, unfriendly. Brusque. I believe it's important and it's more important to note that this word has a sense of rudeness. So this is not just but abrupt. So yeah, let me make sure that brusque. Yeah, so a brusque manner of speaking is unfriendly, rude, and very brief. And cushy. Easy, making few demands, and comfortable. And this is a really cushy job. Mostly I just sit around drinking tea. Comfortable, often in a way that will suit a person's body. And duvet. Duvet.
Duvet.
Duvet. A thick padded quilt used instead of blankets. Duvet. Vantage. Any condition, circumstance, opportunity, or means particularly favorable to success, or to any desired end. An advantage, or to profit, or to aid. The advantage. A vantage is a really good place from which to survey a scene. You might find that the roof of the house offered an excellent vantage from which to drop water balloons on your kid brother's head. So this can be used for place or situation, affording some advantage. And the quality of having superior or more favorable position. Good. And lastly, throb. A beating, vibration, or palpitation. To pound or beat rapidly or violently. The vibrate, pulsate with a steady rhythm. To pulse, often painfully in time with the circulation of blood. Throb. Yeah, let's check the details. Think that throb have a strong regular pulse or rhythm. Loud music with a heavy beat or bass line can seem to throb inside your head, especially if your downstairs neighbors are playing it while you're trying to sleep. Throb. My head is throbbing. Her heart was throbbing. Alright. Okay, now let's get started. And so I'm reading the chapter 2 of part 1 of this book. Yeah, let me get some water first. Oh yeah, I also looked up the pronunciation of character names, and yeah, let me check. So some characters are called Irimiash, Petrina, Futaki, Kranel, Schmidt, Schmidtne or Mrs. Schmidt, Kellerman, and Hullich, and Shani. So important to note here is the accent comes always first. So it's important to note. Okay. Right. So now I'm gonna actually read the book. Part 1. Satantango, Part 1, Chapter 2. We are resurrected. The clock above their heads shows 10:15, but what else should they be waiting for? They know what the neon light with its piercing buzz is doing on that ceiling with its hairline crack, and what the timeless echo of those slamming doors is all about. They know why those heavy boots with their half-moon metal heels are clattering down those strangely high, tiled corridors, just as they suspect why the lights at the back have not been lit, and why everything looks so tired and dim. And they would bow their heads in humble acknowledgement with a degree of complicit satisfaction before this magnificently constructed system of if only it were not the two of them sitting on these benches, polished to a dull glow by the lamps of the hundreds upon hundreds who have occupied them before, obliged to keep their eyes on the aluminum handle of door number 24, so that having gained admittance, they should be able to make use of the 2 or 3 minutes. It's nothing just to dispel the shadow of suspicion that has fallen. For what else is there to discuss except this ridiculous misunderstanding that has arisen on account of procedures initiated by some no doubt conscientious but overzealous official? And so the words prepared for the occasion tremble over each other and begins sparring around as in a whirlpool, having formed the occasional frail. If painfully it's painfully useless sentence that like a hastily improvised bridge is capable of bearing only the weight of 3 hesitant steps before there's the stand of crack, when it bends, and then with one faint final snap collapses under them, so the time and time again they find themselves back in the whirlpool they entered last night when they received the sheet with its official stamp and formal summons. The precise, dry, unfamiliar language, the shadow of suspicion that has fallen, left them in no doubt that it was not a matter of proving their innocence. For to deny the charge or conversely to demand hearing would be a waste of time. If only the opportunity might arise for a general chat where they might state their position regarding an all but forgotten matter, establish their identities, and perhaps modify a few personal details. In the past seemingly endless month, ever since a stupid difference of opinion so slight it's hardly worth mentioning, had led to their being cut off from normal life, their earlier, now clearly frivolous views had matured to a firm conviction. And if opportunity arose, they could answer correctly, and any questions regarding such general ideas as might be grouped together under the heading of a guiding principle with startling certainty, and without any torturous inner struggle. In other words, they were beyond surprise now. And as regards the self-consuming and constantly recurring state of panic, they could take courage. They could take courage and put it down to the bitter experience of the past, because no man could have got out of such a hole without some injury. The big hand is moving steadily closer to 12 when an official appeals to at the top of the stairs, his hands biting him, moving with light step. His whey-colored eyes clearly fixed ahead of him until they were drawn to the 2 strange characters sitting there, when a faint flash of blood enters his grey, hitherto dead-looking face. and he stops, raising himself on tiptoe. And then, with a tired grimace, turns away again to disappear down the stairs, taking a moment only to look up at the other cloak hanging beneath the no smoking notice, by which time his face has returned to its normal gray. The taller of the two men assures his companion, saying the two clocks say different times, but could be that neither of them is right. Our clock here, he continues, pointing to the one above them with his long, slender, and refined index finger, is very late. While that one there measures not so much time as well, the external reality of the exploited, and we to it are as the bough of a tree to the rain that falls upon it. In other words, we are helpless. Though his voice is quiet, it is a deep, musical, manly voice that fills the bare corridor. His companion, who it is obviously at a glance, is as different as chalk from sheets. From the individual radiating such confidence, resilience, and firmness of purpose, fixes his dull bottom like eyes on the other's time-worn. Suffering hardened face, and his whole being is suddenly suffused by passion. Bow of a tree to the rain. He turns the phrase over in his mouth as if it were fine wine, trying to guess its vintage, realizing somewhat indifferently that it is beyond him. You're a poet, old man. You really are, he adds, and marks it with a deep nod, like someone frightened by the idea that he has inadvertently stumbled on some truth. He strides further up to the bench so that his head might be at the same level as the other man's. Sinks his hands into the pockets of the winter coat that seems to have been made for a giant, and searches among the screws, with nails, the postcards of the seaside, the alpaca spoon, the empty frame of a pair of spectacles, and some loose calmopiring tablet. There are to be found in there until he discovers the piece of sweat-soaked paper, and his brow begins to perspire. If you don't put the lid on, he tries to prevent the words escaping his lips, but it's too late. The creases on the taller man's face grow deeper. His lips tighten, and his eyelids slowly close, since he too finds it hard to suppress his emotion. Though they both know they made a mistake that morning in immediately demanding an explanation and bursting in through the marked door and not stopping till they reached the innermost room. Not because they received no explanation, they never even met the boss, since no sooner had they got there than he simply told the secretarians in the outer office. Find out who these people are, and they found themselves outside the door. How could they have been so stupid? What a mistake. Now they were pulling one mistake on the top of another, since even 3 days were not enough to recover from such bad luck. Because ever since they had been released to take a deep breath of the air of liberty and to cover every inch of those dusty streets and neglected parks. The sight of the sight of homesteads declining into uh, autumnal yellow made them feel practically newborn, and they had taken strength from the sleepy expressions of the men and women they passed, from their bowed heads, uh, from the slow gaze of melancholy youth leaning against the wall. The shadow of some as yet undefined ill fortune had followed them around like something without a shape, and they could glimpse it in a pair of eyes that flashed up at them, or a movement here or there that would betray its presence as admonitory, inevitable. And just to crown all this, call me Petrina. I call that terrifying. The incident last night at the deserted station when who knows who could have expected that someone else might want to spend the night on the bench next to the door that led to the platform. A spotty faced Loud of a lad stepped through the uh, revolving doors and without a moment's hesitation, strode over them and pressed the summons into their hands. Would there never be an end to this? The throne had asked the stupid-looking messenger, and it is this that now comes to his shorter companion's mind when he timidly remarks, "They are doing this deliberately, in order to." The throne smiles wearily. "Don't exaggerate. Just listen closely. Pay more attention." He stopped again. The other man jerked back at this as if suddenly caught in some guilty act, is embarrassed, makes a waving movement, and reaches for his improvably large ears, trying to smooth them down while flashing his toothless gums. "As fate dictates," he said. The taller man regards him with raised eyebrows for a while, then turns away before registering his abhorrence. "Ah, how ugly you are!" he exclaims, and turns back from time to time as if he could not believe his eyes. The jagged ears one shrinks despondently away, his pear-shaped little head hardly visible above his turned-up collar. "You can't judge by appearances," he mutters, wounded. At that moment the door opens, and a man with a squashed nose and the look of a professional wrestler steps through with a considerable amount of fuss, but instead of dignifying the two characters of who rushed to greet him with a glance, saying, "Please come with me," marches past them and disappears behind a door at the end of the corridor. They stare at each other indignantly as though they had reached the end of their tether. Hank vowed for a while, desperate and ready to do anything, just one step from committing some unforgivable act when the door snaps open once again and a little fat man sticks his head out. "What are you waiting for?" he asks mockingly. Then, with a wholly inappropriate gesture and a harsh "aha," flings the door wide before them. The large office inside is like a stock room, with 5 or 6 plain-clothes men bent over heavy, shiny desks. Above them, a neon light like vibrating halo. Through there is a distant corner where the darkness has been squatting for many years. There even the light filtering through the closed slat of the blinds vanishes and disappears as if the dark air beneath were swallowing it all. Though the clerks are silently scribbling, some of them are wearing black patches on their elbows. Others have glasses slipping down their nose. There is a constant whispering sound. One or another of them quickly casts half an eye at the visitors, squinting at them, sizing them up with very concealed malice, as if speculating when they might make the one wrong move that will betray them, when the one old overcoat might flap aside to reveal a flea-bitten butt, or when the holes in the shoes might reveal socks in need of darning. What's going on here? The tall man thunders as he crosses the threshold of the stockroom-like space ahead of the other. For there in the room, he sees a man in shirt sleeves on all fours on the floor, feverishly looking for something under his dark brown desk. He keeps his presence of mind though. He takes a few steps forward, stops, fixes his eyes on the ceiling so as tactfully to ignore the embarrassing position of the man he must talk to. Begging your pardon, sir, he begins in his most charming manner. We haven't forgotten our obligations. Here we are ready to comply with your request, as expressed in your letter of last night, according to which you wish to have a few words with us. We are citizens, honest citizens of this country, and therefore we like voluntarily, that goes without saying, to offer you our services. Services that, if I may be so bold as to remind you, you have been kind enough to draw upon for a good many years, albeit in an irregular fashion. It will hardly have escaped your attention that there has been a regrettable intermission in these services when you have had to do without us. We guarantee, as employees of your organization, that now, as always in the past, we reject shoddy work, and indeed any kind of disappointment. We are perfectionists, believe us, sir, when we say that we offer you the same high standard of work to which you have been accustomed. Delighted to be at your service. His companion nods and is clearly moved, very able to prevent himself from grasping his comrade's hand and giving it a firm shake. The chief, meanwhile, has got up the floor, gulps down a white pill, and after struggling a little, manages to swallow it without a sip of water. He dusts off his knees and takes his place behind the desk. He crosses his arms and leans heavily on his worn old fake leather folder, glaring at the two strange figures before him who are standing vaguely at attention, looking at something over his head. His mouth twists in pain and settles all in the lineament of his face into a sour mask. Without moving his elbows, he shakes a cigarette free of the pack, put it in his mouth, and lights. What were you saying? He asked suspiciously, his expression puzzled. His feet twitching a nervous little dance under the table. The question hangs uselessly in the air while the two apparent derelicts stand stock still, patiently listening. I hear that shoemaker fellow. The chief tries again and continues blowing a long plume of smoke that rises above the power of fires on his desk and begins to swirl around him, so it is minutes before his face becomes visible again. No, sir. The jag-eared one replies as if deeply insulted. We were summoned to appear here at 8 o'clock. Aha! The chief exclaimed with satisfaction. And why did you not appear on time? The jag-eared man looks up accusingly from under his brow. There must be some misunderstanding, if I may. We were here precisely on time, don't you remember? As I understand it. No, Chief, you don't understand anything. The little fellow cut him off, suddenly full of life. The thing is that that is to say, the man next to me and I, sure, we can do anything. We can make you furniture, farm your kitchens, castrate your pig, deal with your real estate, and repair anything, even things thought to be beyond salvation. Hmm. You want us to be market traders. That's fine. We can do anything you want. But come off it, he snarls. Don't make us laugh. You know very well our job is to supply information. If I may put it like that, we are on your payroll, if you care to remember. Well, our position, if you know what I mean, is the chief leans back in exhaustion, slowly examining them. His blow clears. He springs to his feet, opens the little door in the back wall, and calls back to them from the threshold. Just wait here, but no money business. But no monkey business, you know what I mean? Within a couple minutes, a tall, blonde, blue-eyed man, rank of captain, appears before them, sits down at the table, carelessly stretches out his legs, and gives them a benign smile. Do you have any papers? He inquires politely. The jagged one searches in his enormously large pocket. Paper? Certainly. He announces in delight. Just a moment. He produces a slightly rumpled but perfectly clean sheet of writing paper and puts it down in front of the captain. Would you like a pen too? The taller man inquires and reaches for his inside pocket. The captain's face darkens for an instant, then opens in a cheerful smile. Very funny, he grins. You two certainly have a sense of humor. Jack-ears modestly casts his eyes down. Sure enough, you don't get anywhere without it, Chief. Yes, but let's get to the point. The captain grows serious. Do you have papers of any other sort? Of course, Chief. Give me a moment. He reaches into his pocket again and pulls out the summons. Flourishing it in the air with a gesture of triumph, he puts it down on the table. The captain glances at it. Then his face reddens and he bellows at them. Can't you read? Fucking idiot. Which floor does it say? The question is so unexpected that they take a step back. Jack-ears nods furiously. Of course. He answers for want of anything better to say. The officer tips his head to one side. What does it say? The second. The other replies and, by way of explanation, adds, I beg to report. Then what are you doing here? How did you get here? Have you any idea what this office deals with? Both men shake their heads, feeling weak. This is the RP section, Registry of Prostitutes. The captain blows at them, leaning forward in his chair. But there is no sign of surprise. The shorter man shakes his head as if to say he doesn't believe the captain, and purses his lips in thought, while his companion stands beside him with his legs crossed, apparently studying the landscape picture on the wall. The officer props an elbow on the table to support his head and starts massaging his brow. His back is as straight as the road to righteousness. His chest is deep and wide. His uniform crisply washed and ironed, his perfectly starched, blindingly white color in splendid harmony with his fresh, rosy-cheeked countenance. One lock of his otherwise immaculately wavy hair is hanging over his sky blue eyes and lends an irresistible charm to his whole appearance. An appearance that radiates a childlike innocence. Let's start, he says in a stern, sudden, sing-song voice, with your IDs. Jack-ears produces two ragged-edged packages from his back pocket and pushes aside one of those big towers of files that he might smooth the package out before handing it over, but the captain snatches it from his hand with the impatience of youth and flicks through the pages military fashion without even looking at them. "What do they call you?" he asked the shorter man. "Petrina, at your service." "Is that your name?" Jack-eared nods in melancholy fashion. "I would like to have your full name," says the officer leaning forward. "That is, sir, that's all there is," Petrina answers with wide-eyed innocence, and then turns to his companion and whispers, "What can I do about it?" "What, are you, a gypsy?" A captain snaps at him. "What, me?" Petrina asks, perfectly shocked. "Me, a gypsy?" Then stops fooling about. "Give me your name." Jaggers glances helplessly at his friend, then shrugs, looking utterly confused, as if unwilling to take responsibility for what he is about to say. "Well, Pander Fering is Van Andras." The officer leafs through the ID document and notes menacingly, it says Joseph here. Petron looks as though he has been relaxed. Relaxed. Oh, Full X, full X. Petrin looks as though he has been poleaxed. "Surely not, Chief, sir. Would you mind showing me?" "Stay right there." The captain ordered him, unwilling to put up with any more nonsense. The taller man's face shows no sign of anxiety, not even interest. And when the officer asks him his name, he blinks a little as if his mind has been elsewhere and courteously replies, "I beg your pardon, I didn't get that. Your name, Irimiach." Irimiach. Irimiach. His answer rings out as if he were proud of it. The captain puts a cigarette in the side of his mouth, lights it with a clumsy movement, throws the burning match into the ashtray, and puts it out with the matchbox. "I see, so you two have only one name." Irimiash nods cheerfully. "Of course, sir. Does everyone?" The officer looked deep into his eyes, opened the door. "Is that all you have to say?" and waved to them to follow him. They follow a couple steps behind him, past the clerk with their sly look, past the decks of the office outside, into the corridor, and set off up the stairs. It is even darker here, and they almost trip over the turns of the stairs. A cruel iron balustrade runs alongside them. Bell balustrade. Balustrade. A crude iron balustrade runs alongside them. Its polished and warm underside streaked with rust as they move from step to step. Everywhere there is the sense of everything having been thoroughly cleaned, and not even the heavy fish-like smell that follows them everywhere can quick mask it. Upper floor. Floor 1, Floor 2. The captain, slender as an officer of the Hussars, proceeds before them with long ringing strides. His shining, half-length military boots almost musical as they strike against the polished ceramic tiles. He casts not a single look back at them, but they're acutely aware he's considering everything about them. All the way from Petrina's laborer's boots to Eremia's dazzlingly loud red tie. Having perhaps memorized such details, or maybe because the thin skin stretched over the back of his neck is capable of receiving deeper impressions that the naked eye can discover. Identification. He barks at a loud, lashy, mustached, swarthy, large lump of sergeant. Sergeant. As they step through another door marked 24 into a smoky, stuffy hall, not slowing for an instant, indicating with a wave of his fingers that those leaping to their feet at his entrance should sit down, while snapping out his orders. Follow me. I want the files. I want the reports. Give me extension 109. Then a line to town. Before he disappears behind a glazed door on the left, the sergeant remains stiffly at attention. Then, as he hears that lock click, wipes his arm across his sweating brow, sits down at the desk opposite the entrance, and pushes a printed form in front of them. Fill it out, he tells them, exhausted. And sit down. But first read the instructions on the back of the page. There's no movement of air in the hall. There are 3 rows of neon lights on the ceiling. The illumination is dazzling. The wooden blinds are closed here, too. Clerks are running about nervously between a mass of desks. When they occasionally find themselves obstructing another's path in the narrow gangways between tables, they impatiently push each other aside with brief apologetic smiles, as a result of which the desks are shifted a few centimeters every time, leaving sharp scrape marks on the floor. Some refuse to move out of the way through the piles of work in front of them have grown into a huge tower. They clearly prefer to spend most of their working time bickering with their colleagues, carping at them for constantly shoving them in the back of pushing their desks aside. Oh, bickering. Bickering. Hmm. Do you suppose there's a cafeteria here? Whispers Petrina, but his companion irritably gestures for him to be quiet. Then he looks up from the document and starts sniffing the air, asking, "Can you smell it?" and points upward. "It smells mushy here," Petrina declares. The sergeant looks at him, looks at them, beckons them closer, and whispers, "Everything is rotting in this place." Twice in the last 3 weeks, they've had to lime wash the walls. There is a shrewd light in his deep set, puffy eyes, his jaws constricted by his tight collar. "Shall I tell you something?" he asked with a knowing smile. He moves close so they can feel the steam of his breath. He starts to laugh silently as if unable to stop himself. Then he speaks, emphasizing each individual word like a set of landmines. "I suppose you think you can get out of this?" He smiles, and then adds, "But you're screwed." He looks mightily pleased with himself and taps the table there 3 times, as though repeating what he had just said. Irimiash gives a superior smile and goes back to studying the document while Petrina stares in horror at the sergeant, who suddenly bites his lower lip, gives them a contemptuous look, and leans indifferently back in his chair. Once again, simply part of the dense matrix of background noise. Once they have completed their forms, he leads them into the captain's office. All trace of fatigue, of the almost terminal exhaustion that had seemed to be his lot, vanishing from his features, his steps firm, his movements crisp, his speech military and sharp. The furnishings of the office suggest a measure of comfort. To the left of the writing desk stands on an enormous potted plant. On those deep, luxurious green the eye may rest, while in the corner by the door a leather sofa stretches complete with 2 leather armchairs and a smoking table of modern design. The The window is covered by a heavy set of poisonously green velvet curtains. A strip of red carpet runs over the parquet flooring from the door to the desk. You can sense rather than see the fine dust sifting slowly from the ceiling, a dust hallowed and dignified by countless years. There is a portrait of some military figure on the wall. Sit down, the officer orders, pointing to 3 wooden chairs in a tight row in the far corner. I want us to understand each other. He leans back in his high-backed chair, pressing against the bone-colored wood, and fixes his eye on some distant point, some faint mark on the ceiling, while his voice, surprisingly sing-song voice, swims toward them through a clearing cloud of cigarette smoke, as though he were speaking from elsewhere, not from with the stifling fog that catches at their throats. You've been summoned because you have endangered the project by your absence. No doubt you have noticed I've not given precise details. The nature of the project has nothing to do with you. I myself am inclined to forget the whole matter. But whether I do or not depends on you. I hope we understand each other. He lets his words hang there for a moment, timelessly significant. They are like fossils cushioned by damp moss. I suggest we put the past aside, he continues. This is providing you accept my terms regarding the future. Petrina is picking his nose. Eremias trying to free his coat from under his companion's rear. You have no choice. If you say no, I shall make sure you are put away, so long your hair will be gray by the time you get out. I beg your pardon, Chief, but what are you talking about? Eremias interrupts. The officer continues as though he hasn't heard him. You have 3 days. Did it never occur to you that you should have been working? I know exactly what you've been up to. I give you 3 days. I think you should appreciate what is at stake here. I'm not making any wild promises beyond that, but 3 days you'll get. Eremias considers protesting but thinks better of it. Petrina is genuinely terrified. I'm fucked if I understand any of this, if you'll pardon the expression. The captain lets it go, pretends not to have heard, and carries on as if he were delivering himself of a verdict. A verdict that expects to be met with compliance but is willing to ignore it. Listen carefully because I won't say this again. No more delays. No more fooling around. No more trouble. All that is over. From now on, you do what I say. Is that clear? Jack-Ears turns to Ilimiach. What is talking about? I haven't the faintest idea, Jeremias rumbled back. The captain shifted his gaze from the ceiling and his eyes darkened. Will you please shut up? He drawled in his old-fashioned sing-song voice. Petrina sits, almost lies, on the chair, blinking in panic. His hands collapse across his chest, the back of his neck against the chair back. His heavy winter coat spread about him like petals. Irmiash is sitting upright, his mind working feverishly. His pointed shoes are a blinding bright yellow. We have our right, he sniffed, the skin of his nose forming delicate wrinkles. The captain is annoyed and blows out smoke, a brief sign of exhaustion flickering across his face. Right, he exclaims. You talk of rights. The law for your type is simply something to be exploited. Something is cover your back when you get into trouble. But that's all over. I'm not arguing with you because this isn't a debating club. You hear? I suggest you quickly get used to the idea that you do as I say. You will act regally from now on. You work within the law. Jeremias massages his knees with sweaty palms. What law? The captain frowns. The law of relative power, he says, his face pale, his fingers turning white on the arms of the chair. The law of the land, the people's law. Do these concepts mean nothing to you? He asked, employing the less intimate form of you for the first time. Petrina is roused to speak. What's going on here? Are we Te or Maga now? Are we fellow workers or not? Which is it? If you ask me, I prefer. But Jeremias restrains him, saying, Captain, you know what law we are talking about as well as we do. That's why we are here. Whatever you may think of us, we are law-abiding citizens. We are aware of our duties. I would like to remind you that we have frequently demonstrated what to be the case. We are on the side of the law as much as you are. So why all these threats? The captain smiles mockingly, fixes his big, sincere eyes on Ilimia's indestructible features, and through the words sound friendly enough they can see their real fury at the back of them. I know everything about you, but the truth is, he gives a great sigh. I have to admit I am none the wiser for that. That's good. The relieved Petrin approached his companion, then cast an endearing look at the captain who recoils from his gaze and stares threateningly back. Because, I can't work when I'm tense. I simply can't deal with it. And then Petrina anticipates the officer seeing and feeling that this is going to end badly. Isn't it better to talk like this rather than you just shut that flabby face of yours? The captain screams at him and leaps from his chair. What do you think? Who the hell are you? You pair of cheapskates. You think you can banter your way past me? He sits back down, enraged. Okay. Yeah, let's make sure that I understand this word. Well, I think I missed some word, but okay, let's go on. He sits back down, enraged. You think we're on the same slide? Petrina is immediately on his feet, waving his hands about in panic, trying to salvage what he can of the situation. No, of course not. For God's sake, beg to report me. Beg to report. We, how shall I put it? We wouldn't dream of it. The captain says nothing, not a word, but lights another cigarette and stares fixedly ahead of him. Petrina stands there at a loss and gestures to Eremias for help. I've had enough of you two. That's it. The officer announces in a steely voice. I've had enough of the Eremias Petrina duo. I'm fed up with creatures like you. Miserable dogs who think I am answerable to them. Eremias quickly intervenes. Captain, you know us. Why can't things remain as they were? Ask Schwabel. Petrina helps him out. Sergeant Major Schwabel. There's never been any trouble. Schwabel has been retired. The captain answers peacefully. I have taken over his file. Petrina leans over to him and squeezes his arm. And here we are, just sitting here like a flock of sheep. Many congratulations, Chief. My heartiest congratulations. The captain is irritated and pushes Petrina's hands away. Back to your place. What do you think you are doing? He shakes his head hopelessly. Then, because he sees they're genuinely shocked, he assumes a Flandrian manner. All right, now listen. I want us to understand each other. Please note it is quiet here now. People are satisfied. That's just how it should be. But if they read the papers properly, they will know that there is a real crisis out there. We are not going to allow that crisis to hem us in and destroy all we have achieved. That's a big responsibility, you understand? A serious responsibility. We are not going to allow ourselves the luxury of having characters like you wandering around wherever where they please. We don't want whispers and rumors here. I know you can be useful to the project. I know you have ideas. Don't think don't think for an instant I don't know that. But I'm not interested in what you did in the past. You got what you deserve for that. You are to adapt yourself to the new situation. Is that clear? Now Ilmiya shakes his hand. Shakes his head. Not at all, Captain, sir. Nobody can make us do anything we don't want to. But when it comes to duty, we will do what we can in our own way. The captain leaps up again, his eyes bulging, his mouth starting to tremble. What do you mean no one can make you do anything you don't want to? Who the hell are you to talk back to me? Fuck you, you rotten, hopeless bastards. Filthy bums. You will report to me tomorrow mornings at 8 o'clock sharp. Now get lost. Scram. So saying, he turned his back on them and his body gives a convulsive shudder. Jeremias lopes toward the door, his head hanging, and before drawing it close behind him in order to follow Petrina, who, like a snake, is already slipping out of the room. He glances back a last time. The captain is rubbing his brow and his face. It is as if he were covered in armor, gray, dull, yet metallic. He seems to be swallowing light. Some secret power is entering his skin. The decay resurrected from the cavity of the bones, liberated, is filling every cell of his body as if it were blood spreading to the extremities, thereby announcing its unquenchable power. In that briefest of moments, the rosy glow of health vanishes. The muscles tighten and once more the body begins to reflect light rather than absorb it, glittering and silvery, and the finely arched nose, the delicately chiseled delicately chiseled cheekbones, and the microscopically thin wrinkles are replaced by a new nose, new bones, new wrinkles that wipe away all memory of what had preceded him, preserved in a single mass everything which, years from now, will find itself entered 6 feet under. Entered. Eremias closes the door behind him and begins to walk faster, crossing the busy hall to catch up with Petrina, who is already out in the corridor, not even looking back to see whether his companion has followed him, because he feels that if he did turn to see, he might be called back again. The light percolates through heavy clouds. The town breathes through their scarves, and unfriendly wind spurs down the street. Houses, sidewalk, and roadway soaking helplessly under the downpour. Did I enter the word percolate? No. Uh, hmm? Downpour. Old women are sitting at their windows gazing at the dusk through net curtains, their hearts contracting at the sight of faces fleeing beneath the eaves outside. Their faces full of such wrongs and sorrows that not even the steaming cookies baked in hot ceramic stoves can banish them. Eremias strides furiously through the town, Petrina following him on little feet, complaining, indignant, getting left behind, occasionally stopping for a minute to recover his breath, his coat billowing in the wind. Where now? He asked miserably. But Eremias does not hear him, moves ahead, muttering imprecations muttering imprecations. He'll regret this. He'll regret this, the bastard. Petrina walks faster. Let's just forget the whole shitty bit, he suggests, but his companion is not listening. Petrina raises his voice. Let's head up river and see if we can get some action there. Irimias neither sees nor hears him. I'll right in his neck. He tells his partner and demonstrates how. But Petrina is just as stubborn. There's so much we could do once we are there. There's the fishing, for example. You know what I mean? Or listen, say, there's little lazy wealthy guy who, let us say, wants something built, having stopped in front of a bar. Petrina puts his hand in his pocket and counts their money, and then they go through the glazed door. Inside there are only a few people hanging around. A transistor radio in the lap of the old woman, minding the toilet of ringing out noon bell. The sticky wiping up growth. The tables with damp holes ready to witness 1,000 little resurrections are mostly unoccupied for now. Tipping this way and that. 4 or 5 men with cavernous faces, their elbows propped on tables away from each other, were wearing disillusioned expression or slyly eyeing the waitress, or staring into their glasses or studying letters, absent-mindedly sipping at coffees or cheap spirit or wine. A damp and bitter stench blends with cigarette smoke, sour breath rising to the back-end ceiling. Beside the door, next to a smashed oil heater, a bedraggled, rain-soaked dog trembles and stares panic-stricken outside. Shift those lazy asses of yours. Shrieks cleaning women as she proceeds past the tables with scrunched up rag. Behind the counter, a girl with flaming red hair and a baby face is propping up a shelf laden with stale desserts and a few bottles of expensive champagne while painting her fingernails. Trick. Okay. On the drinker's side of the counter leans a stocky waitress, cigarette in one hand and a dime novel in the other. Licking her lips in excitement every time she turns the page. On the walls, a ring of dusty lamps serves for atmosphere. A single blended, says Petrina, and leans on the counter next to his companion. The waitress doesn't even look up from her back, and a silver corsage as Irimiash. The girl behind the bar, clearly bored, levers herself away from the shelf, carefully puts down the bottle of nail polish, and pours out the drinks. Her movements slow and sluggish, only taking the odd glance at what she's doing, then pushes one toward Ilimiash. 770, she drawled. But neither man moves. Irimias looks into the girl's face and their eyes meet. The order was for a single. He growls. The girl quickly looks away and fills 2 more glasses. Sorry, she says, a little abashed. And I seem to remember ordering a pack of cigarettes too. Irmias continues in a low voice. 1190. The girl gabbles, glancing over at her colleague, who is stifling a giggle and waves at her to leave off. Too late. What's so funny? All eyes are fixed on them. The smile freezes on the waitress' face. She nervously adjusts her bra strap through her apron, then shrugs. Suddenly everything has fallen quiet. Next to the window opening onto the street sits a fat man in a bus driver's cap. He watches Irimiash in astonishment, then quickly finishes his piccolo and clumsily slams on the glass down on the table. Excuse me, he shudders. Think how everyone is looking at him. And at that point, one cannot quite tell from where our gentle humming begins. Everyone is breathlessly watching everyone else because for a moment it seems as though it is a person, a living person doing the humming. They steal glances at each other. The humming becomes a tad louder. Irimiash raises his glass, then slowly puts it down again. Is someone humming here? He mutters in irritation. Is someone making a joke? What the hell is it? A machine? Or might it be the lamp? No, it is a person after all. Could it be that old bat by the toilet? Or the asshole over there in the gym shoe? What is this? Some kind of descent? Then it suddenly stops. Now there's only the silence. The suspicious glances. The glass is trembling in Ilimiash's hand. Katrina is nervously drumming on the counter. Everyone is sitting still, looking down. No one dares move. The old woman at the washroom tugs the sleeve of the waitress. Tags the sleeve of the waitress. Should we call the police? The girl behind the bar can't stop giggling out of sheer nervousness, though, bringing things to a head. She quickly turns on the tap in the sink and begins making a noise with the beer glasses. We'll blow them all up, says Irimiash in a strange, strangled voice. Then repeats it in a ringing bass. We'll blow up the lot of them. We'll blow them up once by one. Cowards. Worms. He turns to Petrina. 1 stick of dynamite per jacket. That one there. He indicates someone behind him with his thumb, will get one stuff in his pocket. That's one, he continues, glancing towards the fire. We find one under his pillow. There'll be bombs up chimney flutes under doormats, bombs hung from chandeliers, bombs stuffed up their assholes. The girl behind the bar and the waiter moved closer to each other for comfort. At the end of the count, the patrons stare at each other in fright. Petrina weighed them up, his eyes full of hatred. Blew up their bridges, their houses, the whole town, the parks, their mornings, their mall, their mail. One by one, we'll do it properly. Everything in the proper order. Amias purses his lips and blows out smoke, pushing his glass into an full impulse of beer. Because one has to finish what one has started. True enough, no point in shilly-shallying. Petrina nods furiously. We bomb them in stages. All the towns, one after the other. Irmias continues as if in a dream. The villages. The remotest little shack. Boom, 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 cries Petrina, waving his arms around. You hear them blam. The end, gentlemen. He pulls a 20 from his pocket, throws it down on the counter right in the middle of a pool of beer, the paper slowly drawing the liquid up. Elimias too moves away from the bar and opens the door, but turns back. A couple of days, that's all you have left. Elimias will blow you to pieces. He spits out by way of parting, purses his lip, and by way of grand finale, runs his gaze slowly over the terrified lava faces. Okay, so let's stop here. Yeah, it's really hard to find real stuff in his Krasznahorkai's writing. And also I will add some uncommon words here. Okay. Silly. I don't know if this is a word but oh yeah, it is a word. Silly Shelly. And pro. from. Backward. Pushing his glove to and fro. Yeah, to and fro. Fro. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah. Okay, so today I've read about 20 pages today, and chapter 2 finishes in like 10 pages. So yeah, basically I've read 2/3 of chapter 2. All right. Okay, so let's review some words we saw today, and let's call it a day. All right. Frail. Way. Time worn. Admonitory. Loud. Squint. Darning. Fling. Shoddy. Castrate. Snarl. Rumpled. To make wrinkled, particularly fabric. To mask, to tussle. Whole X. To astonish, to shock or surprise utterly. Sly. Artfully cunning. Secret mischievous. Wily. Balustrade. Sergeant. Bickering. Joel. Stifle. A hind knee of various molds, especially of horses. To interrupt or cut off. Fug. a heavy, musty, and unpleasant atmosphere, usually in a poorly ventilated area. Drawl. A way of speaking slowly while lightening vowel sounds and running words together. To drag on slowly and heavily. Cheapskate. Someone who stingily avoids spending money. He is such a cheapskate. He found that jumper in a dustbin. Miser. Bulge. Something sticking out from a surface. A swelling, protuberant part, a bending outward, especially when caused by pressure. Hem, an utterance or a sound of voice like often indicate hesitation or doubt, sometimes used to call attention. Unquenchable.
Chisel.
Chisel. Okay. When you carve a statue from a block of marble, you use a tool called chisel. Oh, yeah, I know this tool. Chisel. To cut out the shape. Chisel is the name of the tool and also the name of the action. Okay, good to know. So this is basically our carving tool. And in a figurative sense, to cheat or get something by cheating. And for person's face having strongly defined facial features. Gotcha. Inter. To bury in a grave. To confine as in a prison. Percolate. To pass a liquid through a porous substance. Downpour, a heavy rain. Billow. A large wave, swell, surge, or undulating mass of something such as water, smoke, fabric, or sound. Billow. Imprecation. Bedraggled. To wet, to make something wet and limp, especially by dragging it along the ground. Wet and limp. Decaying, deceit, or dilapidated. Scrunch. To grind with the teeth and with the cracking sound to scrunch. tree. Larval, relating to larva or larvae. Silly Shelly, to procrastinate. Pro. Alright. That's all for today. And I hope I will continue reading someday. Soon. Yeah, within this month. So. And thank you for listening so far. And see you next time.